I had to get some coffee today, so cheers to y'all. Hopefully you have your coffee too. I'm not too sure, or whatever time it is that you're watching, honestly. But let's get this caffeine going because we're gonna learn today. Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Henry, and I so appreciate that you are here today. So today we're gonna be talking about shutter, aperture, and ISO. These are the fundamentals of how to use your camera. I know when I first started, I wanted to know everything and anything of how to use my camera. So these are gonna be the first things that you should honestly learn. First step is we're gonna throw your camera into manual mode. So find your settings, find your dials, and turn your camera to the M. Turn that camera to M. What this allows you when you turn it into manual mode, you put your camera into manual mode, it gives you full access and full control over your camera settings. The first thing that I'm gonna do is relate my camera to a vehicle because I love cars, and hopefully you get the analogy in this video. So with the car, we have the basic three things that we need in order to run a vehicle: the engine, the tires, and the gas or electricity, because you know it's 2022. Okay, so first step we're gonna talk about is the shutter. This is basically the engine of your camera. So how the shutter works, and this isn't scientific or anything, it's just a basic analogy to get you on your feet and get you going. Your mirror opens and closes really fast. Unless you're shooting with a mirrorless, then you don't have a mirror. But what it is open and closes really fast when you have a higher shutter speed, allowing less light to hit the sensor, which then causes your images to get darker. So keep that in mind. Now, the lower the shutter speed, the slower the time the mirror, I want to say frame, the mirror open and closes. So you're allowing more light to hit the sensor, which makes your images brighter. The more light, the brighter it is. And with that, you get a motion blurriness, like if there's blurriness to your photo. And I know you've seen some of those photos, and we're going to show some examples here. So here we have a higher shutter speed, a higher time value, where the image is standing still and person was actually moving. And on this one, we have a lower shutter speed, a lower time value, and you can see the blurriness of the hands. So that is what shutter is. It is the engine that gets your camera going and allows you to take the photos. So the next setting is aperture, or I like to consider the tires. This is basically what gives you the look, the style of your images. Kind of like the car gives you, when you buy new tires or new rims, your car looks clean, it looks nice, or whatever the case is. So aperture. The lower the aperture, the more light that is allowed to hit your sensor, which makes your images brighter. But then you get this blurriness, and you can see it in this video. It's not just photos. You can see it in this video how everything around me or behind me is blurry. That is because I'm shooting at a lower aperture, at an f2.8. There's f1.8s, there's f1s, and I think there's actually an f.95. I'm not too sure. It was a couple years back that they said they were bringing it out. I don't know if they ever did, but you get the point. The lower the aperture, the more light that goes into the lens hits the sensor, makes your images brighter or your video. And now the higher the aperture, like an f4, f5, 8, 11, 22, it allows less light to go into your camera, which makes your images darker, but you have more in focus. So one thing you have to know about aperture, it is not about the horizontal depth or how far horizontally something can be. It is about the focal length. If, in this case, I'm shooting at an f2.8, you're gonna notice how my hand is actually blurry because it's focused on my face and it's tracking my face. And this is exact same for photography. If I were to bring my hand back here, you're gonna see it and it's blurry because everything is focusing on my face. Depending on where you focus on your subject or your object, that's where your aperture will be set. That's where your camera's gonna know where to hit and focus on. So everything before and everything after is going to be blurry. Aperture has nothing to do with horizontal, although yes, sometimes when I'm shooting bigger family portraits, I will crank it to like an f5 or f8 because there are some people that stand in front, there are some people that stand in back, or staggered, however you are having your family photo shoot. And you wanna make sure you get everyone in focus. The last thing you want is just one person in focus or several people in focus and everyone else is blurry. That's just not gonna look good. So aperture is about focal length and depth. Okay, so ISO. Consider the gas or the electricity of your camera in a sense. Just bear with me on the whole naming the things. It just helps me it helped me understand it when I was first learning photography. So I like to consider ISO, and this is not scientific at all, but I'm gonna make it relatable to you. ISO is like a light bulb inside your camera. You can adjust how bright you want your image or how dark you want your image. So it's basically like a dimmable light bulb that you have in your camera. When you would crank your ISO to like a 3200, 10,000, 2400, 800, your image is gonna get brighter. When you bring down your ISO to 100, 200, 400, whatever the case is, your image will get darker. Now, one thing you have to remember to sum this all up is if you adjust one setting, all of the other settings are affected. So if I make my image brighter through my ISO, you will then have to either adjust your aperture or your shutter. If you bring down your shutter, you will have to adjust your aperture or your ISO according to get the right balance, the right exposure. So go out there, take those photos. That is all that I have for you today. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I so appreciate your support. Hit like on this video if you've learned something. Comment down below and let me know what else you would love to learn about photography and videography. Thank you so much, guys. We will see you in the next video.